Hello, everybody. It is the Oz Property Investors, the favourite time of your week. We bring the big names and we bring the big fun. How you going, Facebook world? Throw your comments, throw your thoughts. And Mike, how has your day been? How are you going?
I'm going great, mate. I'm just excited to hear who this big name is that you've got. This sounds great.
Eminem. Gee, we got Eminem on tonight. Mike Mortlock.
I left my hoodie in the other house, but no, I'll try and drop some rhyme or beat or whatever it is you kids do these days. So I'm ready. I'm ready to go.
Drop some bananas on the floor and then drop it like Donkey Kong. And geez, I don't know. So, Joe, how are you going?
I'm very good, mate. I'm very good. I'm very excited to be listening and seeing Mike. I'm used to just having him in my earballs. Now I've got him in the eyeballs and the earballs, so it's going to be a lot to take in. So I'm excited. Well, obviously with his podcast, Geared for Growth, which is sensational.
Earbuds, Joe.
Earballs, eyeballs, the same
Earballs?
thing.
Is it?
Earballs.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
Mix it up.
We should get it, yeah.
What about you, mate? How's your day?
So it's been good, Joe. I feel productive, and then I feel like I coach some people. So it was happy days. It's a little up in the air at the moment. There's some events I was going to go to on the weekend, but I just don't know now. I just don't know. There's so much uncertainty, and for anybody you're in the New South Wales you're in the Sydney area, whereas I'm a little far south. But no, so day was good, and sorting out the final details for Adelaide. Hopefully settling this financial year, so we don't have to do another set of tax returns, because that'll be a pain in the backside. But anyway, if we have to do it, that's the way it goes. So good day. Shall we kick on to our life hacks,
mate? What is your life hack? I feel like you've got a good one today.
I don't know, Joe. I'm a non-tech sort of person. So, I am a tech person. But so my life hack, for people out there struggle to remember names, so I'm going to give you something. You'll never forget another person's name if you follow this trick. And this trick, so build it up quite a lot. So watch it fall flat on the floor. So if when you're speaking to somebody for the first time, you say their name a couple of times in the conversation. You don't do it weird. You don't say Joe, because then you're just like, yeah, what the heck are you doing? But you just say, how are you going, Joe? Like, it's good to meet you. What kind of industry do you work in, Joe? Like, that's a stupid question, but anyway, you get the message. Use their name a couple of times. And failing that, another thing that I love to do is associate it with something. So Eminem. So I'm going to remember Mike now by Eminem, Mike Mortlock. I already know his name anyway, but if that's how in my mind I'm like Mike. So maybe Mike Tyson actually. That's the way I would remember you, Mike. You're a heavy hitter. Mike.
I'll get a face tattoo.
Just a little one.
I like to only sort of correspond with people in an environment where their names are written on the screen. That really saves all the trouble. I can do all my social interaction this way.
Yeah, exactly. It's so easy. I just get a little name tag here, Joe. But that's actually a really good point. That's what I was listening to the mentalist. Darren Brown, and that's exactly how he remembers. He's like, I remember like 100 people's names in a row. You could put 100 people in front of me and I'd remember them all. And then you just tie their name to something. So like Joe, I go to the cafe every single day, and it's been 6 years, and they don't know my name. Every single Saturday I go there, and every day I wear a hat that says Mo. And
Mojo.
Exactly. Joe walks up, Joe. Okay, Mike. If you had a big afro, you would look like a Mike. So you would say Afro, Mike. Yeah. And you would stick in your mind a lot better. But anyway, that's that. I like that. I like that life hack. It's an actual real one that would work. Whenever you go into these social events, try and pin their name to something and get it down.
Yeah.
What about you, Mike? What's your life hack?
I feel like my haircut is my best life hack, because I could be sort of like strolling in like a mill pond breeze, or I could be in a hurricane and I'm going to look exactly the same. It takes me the shortest amount of time to get ready of, I think, anyone on the planet. So yeah, I mean the hair is. I mean, I was talking to Jeff about hiding grey hairs. That's not really why I do it. It's just kind of laziness, and I'm just hoping this sort of aggressive skinhead thing is going to come back into fashion. But yeah, that's all I got.
No other connotations involved. It's just you just like the look. You just like the look. I don't really believe in the lifestyle around it, but I like it, mate. I did have a friend that had skinhead, like totally bald, and he said he keeps hitting his head into things because he doesn't have the thing where there's hair touches. So if he's close to something, he bumps into it because he can't feel it. So like when a door's open, I'm going to hit my head on my hair. I'm going to feel it, and I'm going to hit my head. Do you hit your head, or is he just an idiot?
All the time. That is like, my mind's just exploded.
Really? Do you actually?
No, I do. I'm always hitting parts of my body on everything: toes, elbows. My spatial awareness is so bad. I think I need to see a doctor. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I'm still probably not going to grow my hair, but maybe I'll just wear a big hat.
Maybe an afro Mike.
Afro.
Yeah. Then we can remember you. Yeah. Okay, my life hack. What is my life hack? So my life hack is it kind of reminded me today when this whole COVID thing happened. So we're in New South Wales. We got a big reminder about this stuff. So mine is no media. That is my life. This is my ultimate life hack. Stop reading news.com.au, SMH, realestate.com.au. I do divulge a little bit into that, but I just don't have any of this mass media nonsense because it's all just crap. Like most of the time, the whole point is fear or greed, or they're trying to hit some emotional thing. So I just have a zero media diet. And then you're like, oh, wait, Joe, but how do you hear about things? Perfect example. COVID happened. I knew all of the rules about COVID. You have to wear a mask. You have to wear one indoors. It can't be after 4 p.m., blah, blah, blah. But everyone just told me. So if it's actually important, if COVID's happening, blah, 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 you're going to get told. So I see more benefits of not having media in your life than having media in your life, if that makes sense.
But Joe, what happens if there's a volcano in Cronulla?
Well, we're all dead.
If there's a volcano in Cronulla, I think there's bigger issues than where you live. I don't think there's any care. But that's a really good intro. Let's start talking property. But I believe we have a debut. I've got to get ready for this actually. So you run it, Joe, and I'll get ready.
Well, we have a debut sponsor. We have a new sponsor on the show here, who is Mr. Steve Polisi. So he's been a great member of this little group of ours for a long, long time. And when it comes to commercial property investing, he's the man for it. So let's just run our little intro for him, and then we'll jump straight into the magic and wonderful Mike.
Magic Mike.
Oh, there it is there. Okay. Now, let's run it. Fingers crossed.
Let's talk about commercial property investing. It's one of those areas that confuses many people. Probably because of the risks involved, but it's also one of the few asset classes that can give you a very positive cash flow from day one. With commercial property, you get some massive net yields of 6 to 10%. Now, that's not gross, that's net, which means it's cash in your pocket. This is what makes them so amazing. Your property can actually pay itself off within 10 years, grow in value, and without having you to chip in any cash at all. Now, with big rewards comes some big risk, which is why you should de-risk your investment as much as possible. The way you do this is with expert due diligence. This is why we highly recommend hiring professionals to help you along in your investing journey. Steve Polisi of Polisi Property is one such expert. He is one of Australia's top commercial property agents. A portfolio of a mix of commercial and residential. Steve has over transactions under his belt. He's the guy you want in your corner, crunching the numbers, finding the best properties in the best location, along with the ways to avoid the bad properties. Steve has even been the one to write the book on commercial property investing in Australia, and it's a bestseller. There's a massive discount to our audience of 50% with the code OZPROP. Click the link below, get a copy today, and start your commercial property investing journey.
Hello. Hi.
What happened there, Joe? What was going on? Hello.
Oh God. Okay, hang on. Oh dear, we've lost me.
That's all right. The show must go on. So whilst Joe, he's back. So let's get into the special guest, Afro Mike. So I was preparing to intro you. So you've worked as a consultant for companies such as McDonald's and a few others that I will mention once I get it up. That sounds funny. Geez, that's Canberra Airport. Gee, Hilton Hotels, Stockland and more. So you are an industry leader in tax depreciation. So I've got a question about that later on. You've completed thousands of depreciation schedules for commercial and resi, which ties right in with Steve. And you actually had Steve on your podcast, Geared for Growth. And is demand. I'm just trying to read that off your but outside of work though, you're a key musician and an elite amateur triathlete. So how can you be an elite amateur if you've represented Australia? Aren't you a professional?
No, see, that's the thing. Like, if you own a pro card, you can't compete as an amateur. I should address the elephant in the room. I've let myself go a bit since my competitive triathlon days. But yeah, so I was an amateur athlete, didn't hold a pro card, so made the Australian national team and raced in London in 2013, something like that.
Wow. Mate, I mean, I've seen some of your chats with Ollie Jackson. It just it scares me a little bit. I see the chats you guys have on Facebook, and it's and even some of the swims he does, and I'm just like, how does he do it? But
so what's the biggest in a triathlon? What is the biggest tip you can give someone to actually do it? Because like a triathlon, it's like 1 billion kilometers in water, sea, and fire. How do you like how do you do it? What are the tips? What can we do?
Lots of Vaseline. That was actually a tip that the Hawaii Ironman champion gave to somebody. He said, I'm doing an Ironman tomorrow, my first one. What's your best tip? It's lots of Vaseline, because it's too late, right? A day before an Ironman triathlon. But like, Ironman is the biggest distance, and a lot of people sort of think of that as the pinnacle. There is actually an ultra Ironman distance, but that's just for people that are crazy. The best way to do it is just in segments. Like, there are a lot of people that just run from aid station to aid station. So the aid stations might be 2 kilometers apart. So they're just like, I just got to get to the next one. Whereas if you get off the bike after 180 Ks and think, I'm about to crank out 42.2 on the old pegs, you're going to maybe sort of fall into a bit of a heap.
It's all a mental game, isn't it? It stops becoming physical after a while and just becomes purely mental.
But I think you've got to love the pain. You've got to, there's one world champ that says, embrace the suck. Because if you're doing a triathlon, it's going to suck at some point. You've got to be ready for it, and you've just got to go, this is what I'm here for. Yeah,
having run a few even half marathons, and I will do a marathon. I need to get back into that, but I can completely the suck in a half marathon, at least for me, is about the sort of 16, 17K mark where you're close to finishing, but you're far enough away, and you sort of just have to keep pushing through, and your time sort of drops there. But let's kind of get into property. What we actually what we do to us property. Otherwise,
just before we do that, I wanted to ask Mike. Now, Mike has an awesome question that he asks all his guests, which is, what was the poster that you had on your wall as a kid? And I don't want to know that question, but I've got a good question that I would like to know. What is the best compliment you've ever received?
Someone at random in Melbourne saw me walking across the street with my wife and just yelled out, "Put a bag over your heads." That's probably one of the best.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
Wow, thanks. Thank you.
I've also been described as very frequent. I think that's because someone follows me on LinkedIn. So those are the two standouts.
Wow,
well, that's very nice. Yeah, they're nice people.
Good question, Joe. Maybe we should. I think Joe has to come up with a quirky question of the week. That's going to be a segment. But yeah, so before we get into the nitty gritty, the numbers and the depreciation, when you and I, for the benefit of the audience, because I remember, I think I asked this question when we had coffee down in Wollongong, but what is it that made you want to become a quantity surveyor, Mike Mortlock?
Yeah, well, the first thing I wanted to be was a fighter pilot. And I didn't satisfy the medical requirements, which is a long story. So I thought, the next best thing is obviously being a tax depreciation expert. That's what I say, like aim for the stars and you'll hit Parramatta. So that's kind of what I did.
Are we talking about that football? Are we talking about that football team? Are we talking about the suburb? Like, there's just so many levels. I love the sledge there on Parramatta.
Choose your own adventure with that one. No, look, I didn't really know. Like, I did genuinely want to be a fighter pilot, and then when that didn't happen for me, I sort of kind of thought, like, well, I don't know, like life's over in a way, as you do as when you're an adolescent, and every problem you think actually matters in the real scheme of things. So I knew that I liked property, so I studied real estate and I studied valuation. I had a real estate career for all of about 9 months, and I realized that you couldn't do that as an introvert that just wanted to be left alone. It's not the right vocation. So I, decided to study valuation. Then I ended up getting a job for a quantity surveying firm, and I enjoyed it because it was property, but from an analytical point of view, it was about the numbers and the data. And then since starting my own business, I've just had a lot of fun. So it is kind of weird because no one thinks when they grow up they want to be a quantity surveyor, but I am, and I enjoy it, and I guess I'm still growing up as well.
Yeah. I don't think I'll ever grow up, so I think we have plenty in common there, Mike. And I'm sure Joe looks like he's just turned 21, so he's fresh faced and ready to go. So let's have profit for you guys, sir.
What is a quantity surveyor?
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Let's start at the peak and.
It's a good question. I met a guy recently, a couple of years ago, and I said, "What do you do?" And he said, "I fix the ejection seats on fighter jets." And I'm like, "I wish I had a job like yours. Easy to explain, cool. Chicks probably dig it." Chicks digging tax depreciation and quantity surveying is niche. I'd like to think they're out there somewhere. But a quantity surveyor, the real special skill is estimating construction costs. So if you need to know how much something costs to build, a quantity surveyor is the best person to give you that answer. So that's what a quantity surveyor is. Like back in the old days, it would be surveying of quantities. So bills of quantities, where it's like if you're building a building, it's certain amounts of timber, certain amounts of nuts and bolts and all that sort of stuff. So it's quite an old profession, I'm led to believe.
So back in the Crusades, there's people measuring up how you could how you sort of build a castle or build a fort or whatever. So I think I've got an angle for you, Mike. I know you don't need this, but well, maybe you don't want to hear my pickup line for.
Here we go. It's already out there, Jeff. You got to give it now.
Okay, we'll say so. If you're ever single as a quantity surveyor, for any quantity surveyors out there, aspiring quantity surveyors. If you go into a party and somebody, a lady or a guy, whatever sort of somebody you're talking to says that you're fancy, says, "Hey, I'm a quantity surveyor," and they say, "What is that?" And then you say, "Well, I'll show you my numbers if you show me yours."
Ah, there you go. I just really, really hope I'm never single and have to scrape the barrel with that one, Jeff.
Oh, yeah. Like, it's all on the delivery, though. Like, obviously, if you go out there and you're humble, like I just said, you're not going to. Yeah, it's. But yeah. So okay, let's get a little bit serious here, just a little bit, just amp it up a little. Quantity survey was a great question. I loved it, Joe. Mate, you're bringing out the big guns tonight. Let's save some ammunition for later. So I want to know how did your investing journey start, Mike? What was the first investment, and what did you learn from it?
I definitely learned you shouldn't buy a house, put your best mate in it as a tenant, and then buzz off on holidays when there's a rat nest in the backyard. So the first place was, I think I bought for about 230 grand. It was a 2-bedroom sort of 1950s, 60s built place that I converted into a 3-bedder. I sort of lived in it, rented out a room. I think I spent about 8 to 12 grand turning it into a 3-bedder and doing a few bits and pieces, and then I got it revalued, I think at 260. So I got 60. I think I actually got 60 of equity. So yeah, it must have been a little bit more than that, and that was in a short space of time. So that was the first time that I kind of thought, oh, this property investing thing is a bit of all right, because I've just made more money than what I do in my actual job. So that was the first one. Unfortunately, I don't still have it, because it would have done really well, but I sold it to buy something else. But yeah, that was my first one. It was just an old rundown house.
Which general location? I suppose you don't own anymore. So where did you pick that one up?
It was not far from Newcastle University in Newcastle.
Wow. Yeah, that's
you ever look back at like the real estate and just be like, oh, recently sold?
Yeah, because I said to my wife, oh, I really want to buy that back one day. And then, you see it sell and you're like, oh, no, like, I don't want to do that. Maybe I just knock on the door and say, can I stay one night and remember why I was so keen to leave?
Oh, you still have the rat nest? Oh, cool. Yeah, they're hard to get rid of.
Yeah, it came with it. It wasn't me, although we fed them.
I like it. Okay. I'm going to go down this investor route again. Because you must look at a whole heap of portfolios and like assess a whole heap of different investors. What are some of the mistakes that you're seeing in like new investors? What are some of the mistakes new investors are making?
Yeah, look, I think what I can point to is some of the statistics that are worrying me, and a lot of that comes from a survey a white paper that I referenced in some comments before, where we look at, and we've actually looked at 1,000 residential reports each year as a sample size over 5 years. So we're not only seeing snapshots of 1,000 purchases, but we're seeing that at different time periods over 5 years. So we released a white paper called the 1,000 Assets 2020 report. And in that, we tracked the percentage of people that buy new property. And that's seen 108% increase over that period. So at the last time we crunched it was 49.5% of people buy brand new property. Now, I'm not against buying brand new property in principle, but a lot of the stuff that is purchased is off the plan apartments in areas where there's just no scarcity. There's certainly a lot of apartments that can come up in that space. If you're putting it up for rent, there might be another 12 that are for rent in the building at the same time. And I really like to point to the stat that 72% of people only ever buy one property as being a failure. I don't mean that in a mean way. I'm actually driven to turn that figure around, because I think if you only ever buy one investment property, you're not achieving what you set out to achieve. Because I think when you invest in property, you want to financially change your future. And there's a pretty strong argument to say that one property is not enough. So I think getting the first one wrong is the biggest thing that holds property investors back.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. I see that all the time. And the problem that I always see is there was a comment in the group just, yesterday or the day before. Am I going to buy an inner city apartment, or am I going to buy something really far out, a 4-bedroom house off the plan? I'm like, oh God, just get a little bit of education. There's so many things out there, so much education out there that can help you just make that decision. Because when we have low interest rates, that's great. The way borrowing is happening right now, we can't just keep buying, make a mistake, buy another one, kind of get better, buy another one, kind of get a little bit better. It's like you buy your first one, that needs to be your foundation. That needs to be the bedrock, because you haven't got 5, 6, 7 other properties to go, because the borrowing capacity just isn't there. So the first one needs to be on point straight away. How can people people that have those that are making those choices, what can you tell them? How do you shake them a little bit without hurting too many feelings? Because
I think it's important for people to understand that statistics, a bit like, with the statistics that we know about people that, start a small business and, X amount of them go bankrupt in the first 12 months. I think it's worth considering that when you start. How do you not be one of that number? And new property has certainly been incentivized, and we're definitely seeing that trend continue, people wanting to purchase new property. But that's where spruikers tend to live. They don't tend to live in the established property market. So it's something to be careful about. And I always think, like, if you're purchasing an investment property, you need to consider the incentives of the people that you're working with very carefully. I.e., if you're working with a company that works for you for free, they're getting paid somewhere, somehow, right? So you've just got to be skeptical and really quiz your experts hard, because the good experts relish the opportunity to show their expertise.
Yeah, they like a flex.
Yeah,
but 100% incentives are key. Another comment was around, I don't know which investment company I need to be going with. None of them. That's the one. You go find a buyer's agent that you pay a set fee and it's pay for play. They're not going to sell you a product that they have, in storage ready to go for you. They're going to go find an asset that's going to add value to you. So you obviously have a bit of an investment strategy. Everyone's got one. I don't know if you articulate yours, but how would you articulate your investment strategy?
I think it's probably better articulated by others, and perhaps I didn't have a set strategy to begin with, but I've learned to sort of put it more into words. I've learned the importance of mortgage strategy and the importance of not putting the cart before the horse. So you've really got to have a goal in mind of what you want to achieve, and the property's job is to serve that. Like, I've heard people say, like, if I could get to where I want to be by buying kebabs, I'd be in the kebab business. The property, it shouldn't be an emotional decision, right? Like, it's the widget to purchase to get where you need to be. So my strategy is looking at each acquisition and how it's getting me closer to that goal and how it sits within the portfolio as well. So, for example, from time to time, I might feel like things are a little bit too negatively geared. So I might be looking for something that's a bit more balanced with cash flow and growth. But I would describe myself as a long-term, fundamental, sort of slow burn, the shortcuts are at the butcher's shop style investor.
Oh, gee, that's an amazing way to put it. I was going to say interesting, but amazing. And so how do you then if you make a mistake using that, if somebody's made a mistake or they sort of aren't clear on a strategy, what is a good way to course correct that, or you simply just have to say, okay, yeah, I mean, I don't know, that's a broad question, I suppose, but what do you sort of how did you arrive at that particular perspective is probably my question.
Oh, look, I think that the people that have really sort of trying to get to the point where they're trying to do it all straight away in that purchase, manufacturing equity or hot spotting and that sort of stuff, it's quite speculative. And even though I've probably seen too many winters, I've still got enough time to continue to build the property portfolio. I'm not in a rush, and there's a risk reward that comes with doing developments or value adds or subdivisions and that sort of stuff. And there's a time and a place for everybody, but I think for your average investor who still is owning one property or two properties, when it comes to course correcting, you've just got to analyze what that property is doing for you. How much are you putting into it? And the most important thing is the opportunity cost of that money. So if you had that money somewhere else, like in a bank, like you would hope that the bank is not outperforming your property right now. That would be a serious problem.
One of the things I wanted to cycle back to was you said something about mortgage strategy. What does that mean?
Well, I think the good old days where you could, leverage yourself to the eyeballs are dead and gone. Like everyone has an innate capacity to expand their portfolio that will hit a ceiling. And it can be difficult to manufacture a change in that. So, if you're earning $100,000 a year, it might be difficult in, say, a year or two to increase that to 200, albeit impossible, right? So there's only so much that you can service and the banks will lend you. So that's where it's kind of, having a relationship with a broker to say, like, this is my goal, this is what I want to retire on, or this is what I want to build in equity. What do I need to know and understand, and how should I leverage, and should I pay LMI, and should I go with a certain bank? Like that's the strategy that I'm talking about. I think it's more important than it was 5 or 10 years ago.
Yeah. I'd probably say definitely 10 years ago. 5 years ago was still quite tough. I mean, you're sort of talking 2017, but definitely it's pretty hard today. Let's kind of jump into something your bread and butter. I know you love talking depreciation. So let's talk depreciation to me.
Right.
So what are the and I sort of I hate using this word, but I spruiked it a little bit. What are some of the let's say the top 3 or top 5? I don't know how many there are that people miss, but what are the deductions, the top 3 to 5 deductions that people miss that are potentially costing tens of thousands of dollars?
I think, like, rather than it being, say, certain deductions, I mean, it'd be unusual for you to not claim deductions like the interest portion of your investment property loan, right? The account.
Before we jump into this, because I think there's a heap of value there, but I know we've got like a lot of first-time investors. Can you just tell me what a quantity surveyor does? So if I say we're talking about tax, we're talking about things. So you someone wants to say, hey, I want Mike to help me out with my tax depreciation schedule. So what is a tax depreciation schedule? What happens when I engage you? Do you go to site and check out the property and look at all the things, or do you do like an online thing? And then like why you would actually get one? Because I like playing dum-dum. I'm very good at dum-dum.
That's a great question. Good way to start. We'll go back, right? Because like why should you waste your, what day is it? Wednesday night listening to a bloke with this expensive a haircut? I think like the job of tax depreciation is just to minimize your tax payable, right? So we'll go back to someone earning $100,000 a year. You're going to pay somewhere around $24,000, $25,000 in tax. Now, my job is to come and inspect your property, to have a look at the nuts and bolts construction part of it, any improvements, renovations, extensions, additions that maybe you have done, and all the plant and equipment items, such as the range hoods. I don't know if you can see a bit of a cooktop, those sorts of things. So what I do is I prepare a report that shows the deductions each financial year for 40 years. So let's say you're on 100 grand, you're paying 25 grand in tax. If I can find you, say, $11,000 worth of deductions, then in the eyes of the tax office, you're only earning $89,000, and the tax payable on that is just over 20. So in that scenario, you're paying $600 or $700 tax deductible to me to prepare a report that saves you $4,000 in tax. So that's the value proposition. You don't actually have to do depreciation, but it's kind of like you don't have to have a bath. Right, like eventually you may regret it.
One of the things that I like, I was listening to one of the things that you posted, and it was like, we only recommend one of these reports if it's actually going to get you more money back. We're never going to say, pay us 600, 700, 500, whatever it is, if it's not going to get you the money back. And it's like, oh, cool. So I give you something and I get more back. Oh, easy. Yeah. I'll do that. I'll do that anyway.
Times 1.2 or 3.8 or 100, depending on the property. So yeah, there's certainly circumstances where we look at a property, and that's the first step. Is I say, oh, congratulations on your investment property, Joe. Flick us through the details, the address. We'll have a look at it online and give you an idea about what sort of deductions there are. And you get to the point where you can assess these things within seconds. So I went through an exercise the other day where I popped in, at random, property addresses, and I'm like, yes, no, maybe I need to see more photos. It's a pretty easy thing for someone that's trained to do. But yeah, you're absolutely right. If we don't think it's going to stack, and the magic figure that most quantity surveyors look for is double their fee worth of tax deductions in the first full year. So it's a 40-year report, but we want to pay for itself in the first year. If it doesn't stack, then we will say, this one doesn't stack up for XYZ reasons. We'd love to help you in the good one. Because in good faith, we don't want to charge someone something for something that doesn't provide them with value. There's plenty of other properties that we can apply our trade and get a good result for the client. And often when I have that conversation with clients, they come back, 6 or 12 months later and they say, what about this one? Almost excited for me to charge them money because, I just treated them with respect. So, that is one example where the good guy wins sometimes.
It sounds like you're the depreciation 007. Mike, you jump in there and you look at things, and within seconds you're a golden eye. You've got your gun out and you're ready to get the
I'll take it, Jeff, because I thought I was thinking about. I wonder if we're like Robin Hood. We take from the ATO and we give to the rich. I guess it doesn't really work.
Take from the rich and give to the less rich.
Yeah.
So on that, I think it's an appropriate time to jump into this question. It's a bit of the elephant or the bugbear probably of people, or the kind of question that people love to heckle at you at. What happens? Because you sort of say, what happens when people if people decide, and this is not whether you decide to sell or not, whatever. That's up to. I mean, that's not up to us to decide. But what happens to depreciation? So that money you've claimed. What happens when you sell? Give us a bit of a spiel about how that all works.
So yeah, it's a question that I often get from people as almost like they're sort of saying it's a gotcha thing. Like I do a presentation and they're like, but I know you have to pay it all back, so you get out of here, you naughty little spruiker. But what we're referring to here is that when you sell a property and you make a capital gain, the tax depreciation deductions that you claim can influence the cost base for that property. So let's say you buy a property and then you sell it 2 years later for $100,000 profit, then you've got $100,000 capital gain there, of course. Now, if over the period of that ownership you claim $10,000 worth of depreciation on the original building structure, then the tax office looks at that as $110,000 capital gain. Now, does that mean I've claimed $10,000 worth of deductions and then I just have to pay it back? Well, no, because you're not paying all that capital gain back. If you're holding the property for 12 months or more, you've got that 50% CGT exemption. So straight away we're cut in half. And then it's just based on your taxable income. So if you're on the 45% marginal rate, then it's almost cut in half again. So that I think is the best way to answer that question. One thing that people also don't consider, well, actually, I'm going to say two things. The time value of money. So when you're selling the property, it's probably a long time later than you purchased it. And the value of getting $10,000 worth of deductions today compared to $10,000 worth of deductions in 20 years, or I should say paying back that $10,000 in 20 years, or even a portion of it, it doesn't sort of stack because the dollar is always worth more today than it is tomorrow. The other thing is if you're investing... Sorry, Jeff?
Oh, I was going to say hopefully, and if not, then depreciation is probably not an issue. We're probably not worrying about. We're probably worrying about. Yeah. Anyway,
if there's 10 years of no inflation, we're all in trouble.
But I guess I look at it like, okay, cool. I'm trying to build a portfolio right now. I need as much cash flow as I can physically get. Like, I'm not going to sell this thing for 10, 15, 20 years. I mean, property is a long-term vehicle. So I need to get that. I want as much stuff right now and let future richer Joe worry about it in the future. Because I'm going to be able to leverage that money a lot better in right now than I am going to be in 10, 15 years. So
exactly.
That only makes sense.
You've completely punchlined me on point two. Because no, that's fine. No, that just shows that you're paying attention and you're a clever guy. Don't let the flannelette shirt fool anybody.
Don't let it fool you, guys.
You're absolutely right. So when you purchase an investment property, it's going to be most expensive to you straight away, right? What I mean by that is that over time you may pay down your mortgage. Your rent should hopefully go up. So as time goes on, that property is going to be easier and easier to hold from a cash flow point of view. So if it's negatively geared, like 2/3 of properties are, then it's going to cost you the most in the beginning. So those deductions are worth so much more to you then, because if you're forced into a position where you can't manage the cash flow of your property and you have to sell, that's a disastrous position to be in, just because of the costs of getting in and out of a property. So that's why when people sort of say like, oh, I don't claim depreciation because you just have to give it all back, I sort of say, cool, but like if you've got a minute, I think I can explain why that is not the best strategy.
Yeah. And as always, work with your accountant and quantity surveyor. Like before we step into the really juicy kind of details after taking a break, what is your what are your views on an accountant? Do you get along well with accountants, or is there kind of a symbiotic relationship there? It's a symbiotic relationship, I would say. Accountants are, they're very specialized in individuals. They're not all created equal. There's certainly some better than others, and a bit like us, people will say to us, oh, well, the tax depreciation legislation and rules are the same for everybody, so all you guys would be the same. The answer is no, and accountants are exactly the same as that. Accountants are the real gatekeepers for us for tax depreciation, because people will go and do their tax return. They'll tell their accountant they purchased an investment property. The accountant will say, do you have a depreciation schedule? And the investor will say, what is that? That's something that still happens, right? Despite me, doing these sorts of interviews with my prop bananas on a regular basis, the message still isn't out there. But if you're a property investor, you don't want to go to one of those, bang it out tax return style places. You want to have a good relationship with an accountant who understands property, understands your numbers.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. All right, let's take a quick break, shall we, Joe?
Absolutely. Okay, let's do a quick little break.
Can I get Joe's big mug on the screen?
Get my little mug on the screen.
Scott Agate. You would have seen him on the 7 p.m. project campaigning against agent underquoting. Scott is an expert negotiator through and through. Every single day, he is negotiating with real estate agents to get the best price for his clients. To give you a bit of a background, Scott has been working in real estate since 1995, and as a real estate agent, built up 3 Bell franchises. He was the guy teaching the agent all the tips and tricks to get the most out of the buyers. However, Scott realized that there was actually no one on the side of the person buying the property, and he saw them constantly letting emotion get in the way and paying way over for the property. And that's why he created Hello House, Australia's first property negotiation as a service business, where he is on the side of the buyer. In hot markets like we have now, you need absolutely every single edge that you can get. These agents are trained professionals, and they are there to get the most money out of you, which is why you need to have an expert of your own in your own corner. The way it works, you find the property, then Scott will come in at the negotiation phase and take over for you. This is how you'll get the property for its true value. He'll ensure that you don't overpay. He comes in, knocks the real estate agent down on price. No more agent games, no more tricks, no more tactics. He is there for you. Scott has been kind enough to offer us an amazing discount on his service, and I've personally just seen a friend pay $20,000 more on a property because of these agent games. Reach out to him with the link below. It'll be the best property investment you will ever make.
Joe's got the screen of death. I love when and I will have the link. Carry on.
Pop the link up. One of the things that I wanted to go back to, Mike, was Jeff's question about what are the deductions, like what are the big ticket deductions that might be slipping under the radar? What are some of the $1,000 savings we can get our little audience here?
Yeah, look, when it comes to deductions, the number one is generally going to be the interest payments on your loan. So you need to make sure your account's across that. I mean, if they have a license, they ought to be. Tax depreciation is probably the second one. And then I think if we're talking about things that don't tend to find themselves in a depreciation schedule, and I should talk about how to tell whether you need a depreciation schedule. We might circle back to that. It's the little repairs and maintenance and the ongoing expenses that often your property manager is the custodian of. They're the things that are important to get right. It's important to claim the depreciable improvements distinctly from the repairs and maintenance things, and just, keeping those records. All you need is a spreadsheet, a Google sheet, anything like that. If you spend $1, write down when it was, what it was, and how much. That's all you really got to do. That sounds like homework and it's boring or what have you, but at tax time, you'll thank yourself, your accountant will thank you, and won't invoice you for extra work for sifting through your shoebox of shash.
I totally agree. Recently, what I've done is I hate admin, so I'm just going to say it. I do hate it. And I think my time is worth a little bit, right? So what I do is I just get a virtual assistant from overseas. Awesome guy, super helpful, very valuable. And he helps me I set it up. So, hey, I've got an invoice here. I've got a message from my property manager this month. These were the expenses. Then I download a report for interest from my bank accounts and then send that on to him. And then he plugs it all into the spreadsheet. And, it costs very minimal for him to do that. And then I can go do other higher value item things. So that's a little life hack, if we're talking life hacks here, that is super helpful. It's like, dollar cost productivity, right? Mike, what are some of the things that would steer you, be like, oh, actually, this is not, I don't need a depreciation schedule, or I do need one. Like, what are some of the key things that you notice?
Yeah, look, the best way I think I can explain when you need one is I've got 3 triggers. So if you match any of these 3 points, you likely need a depreciation schedule. One is you buy or build a brand new property. That's kind of an obvious one. The reason why it's obvious is because, Jeff's like, oh, wait a minute, this is controversial.
That's all right.
Not on my program. So because it means you've got 100% of the claim left. You haven't bought it halfway and you're claiming a residual or whatever. And everything qualifies, the building structure and the plant and equipment items. So that's the one that's sort of probably most obvious. The second one is a property that's built after the 16th of September 1987. That date is important because that's the cutoff date for depreciation on the original structure. And by structure, I mean things like the concrete slab, the timber frame, the gyprock, tiling, kitchen cabinets. Look at that finger work. That's like, I've nailed that. All of the hard stuff in a building. So brand new, post 87. The last one is if it doesn't match 1 or 2, it's not brand new, it's not built after 87. It could be something built in the 20s or the 40s or the 60s. You will need a depreciation schedule if it's been renovated or extended or improved to a magic figure of about $40,000 or more. So
that's not much.
No, it's not much. Like if you've put a new kitchen and a new bathroom in a property, you've probably already spent that. The reason why that's important is because 2.5% is the depreciation rate for the building structure or structural components, and 2.5% of $40,000 is $1,000 a year. So that's about the break-even point for deductions. Now, people often say things, and even quantity surveyors, and this annoys me, right? Because I'm a technician. I speak the truth. People say brand new properties are better for depreciation. Well, like in general, yes, but what about, say, if we compare a project home built for $250,000 to a property in the leafy suburbs of Melbourne built in 1912, but has just had a $3 million renovation and is now being rented out? That will kick the trousers off your project home. So it's not actually true that new property is always better for depreciation. So the biggest myth that I think that I'd love to smash, and have been trying to smash, is that older properties don't have worthwhile depreciation deductions.
I'd love to say, and you said kicking the pants off. That's assuming we're wearing pants, but yes, we are. Go, Joe.
Well, yeah, totally. I think tax is one of those things. Like I didn't do like my tax returns for a very long time, and owning property, and I called up somebody else, and not Mike of your quantity survey, but they just did a basic check and was like, oh no, it's before 1987. You don't need one. So I was like, oh, well, I don't need one. I don't need to do my tax. And not that I didn't think I didn't need to do my tax, but I was like, oh, like I'll do it later. It's not going to be a big thing. And then I did substantial renovations on it. And they didn't ask the question, but that's what you've got to do. Did you do substantial renovation? And then all of a sudden I've done my tax returns. I'm like, holy crap, I can't believe I've let this money just sit in my account, like sit in the bank's account rather than letting me use it in the future. It's a nice little savings account, but a savings account, it's good to have when you have control over it. So make sure you do your bloody tax returns.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's get into something a little bit practical. I think you have some stats or some live snapshots, and so I don't know if you have some. I'm interested in what are the typical deductions for commercial and resi that MCG your company has, or sort of insights on, like.
Yeah, like in the last 1,000 residential depreciation schedules we analysed, the average deductions were 9,415. Just because I promised, like, never before seen industry data. You heard it here first, folks. I ran a report on the last 60 days of depreciation schedules within our business, and the average first full year deductions was $11,012, and the average total deductions was $242,641. So that's a bit of a snapshot of what we've done in the last 60 days from an average point of view. On top of that as well, we found 24.96% of people buying a new dwelling. So in this little sample, it's actually about half of what we're seeing in the bigger samples. So I'm not sure exactly what's up there.
Wow.
46% were houses and 23% were units. And that's certainly a trend that we've seen. Units have certainly dropped in popularity in the last 4 years. And houses are sort of tracking fairly steady, but townhouses have seen the biggest growth of any property type, at least the stuff coming through our doors.
Have you got any kind of word on the street as to why townhouses or why that? I mean, is that only that's in the last 60 days? Is it?
No, that was over 5 years. So yeah, no, that I was just talking about the other stuff as a quick snapshot. I think I've got probably an example here from the 60 days that speaks to that. The average floor area of a house that we've done in the last 60 days is 144 square meters. Now that'll exclude the garage, any verandas or anything like that. The average townhouse was 139 and the average unit was 83 square meters. I think that's an interesting point because a townhouse is kind of the best of both worlds. We've got, housing affordability concerns for people. So townhouses tend to be cheaper than houses. No one's really got any time anymore because we're all working so bloody hard to try and afford a house and pay off the mortgage. So we don't want the big yards. And we've got a huge downsize of population as well. And we're talking about typically strata title properties, but they don't have the same strata sort of fear aspects as some of the massive complexes. And that's something that we've actually been tracking as well. The average development sizes, it peaked at 96.9 units in 2008. So if you're buying a strata titled unit, the average number of units that people are buying a complex into is 96. That's actually dropped to 72 because we've seen, I think, a lot of bad press for these high-rise apartments. The Opal Towers, the Mascot Towers, the huge vacancies that we've had in the last little while. They're very COVID-y. So, yeah, the proportion of people wanting to go to townhouses, I think, is tied up in that.
Joe, mate, you ask. Joe's usually got something he wants to ask. So I was letting Joe have his turn.
No, mate, you go. That's interesting, though. Like,
I put him in data paralysis.
Yeah, I'm interested to know, because if I'm a sort of average Joe or average Jill or average insert name
Jeff.
here.
Average Jeff?
Yeah.
Average
Jeff is not average Joe. You should know this by now. But no. So you're an average person. What do I take from those insights in terms of there's so much data? A question that how does somebody then sort of say, okay, great, what do I do with that? Because
that's a good question. Have I got data that you should look at to inform your next property investment purchase? Quite possibly not. There are certain bits of data that we produce, like the rent loss index, that shows you the areas where landlords are suffering the most from vacancies. Probably that. But all I'm really reporting on is what investors have done. And I've had people say to me before, oh, this is dodgy, Mike. Like, you shouldn't be doing all these, brand new units. I'm like, well, wait a minute. I'm just reporting on what people brought to me. I can only do tax depreciation schedules on what people say, Mike, can you help me? I bought this property. Yes, I'm not going to discriminate if I think it's a bad investment. And by that token, if someone buys something in a high-rise complex in, say, South Melbourne, they probably need my help more than anybody else, right? Because they need those deductions. So I'm not saying investors are doing this, so that's what you should follow. I'm just sort of highlighting what the trends are and what's becoming more popular. And it is just to investors. And I think if you are investing in property for growth, you need to better understand what's more attractive to owner-occupiers, because I think those are the people that really drive house prices, because they spend more on gentrifying their areas and their houses.
They're more emotional.
Yeah, can you dig more into what you mean?
In terms of the data?
Well, in terms of investors, I don't know, any more insights around that? Because I think that's such a valuable insight that you just shared. Just chase. Why are you following these investors when you should be chasing the principal place of residence? Because they have so much more money and they're willing to spend more. I think that's one of the, we're going to chop this up, but I've made a bit of a mess of it right now by interrupting and asking a silly question. But have you got any more insights into that you can share, maybe with some data or without?
Yeah, look, I think that certainly the areas with a higher proportion of owner-occupiers tend to be the better areas to invest in. You don't want to be investing in an area that's got a massive supply of rental properties, because they are your competition. It's definitely proven that people spend, more on their properties when they're owner-occupying. In fact, this is a good one. I should have brought the stats on this. But one thing that we track is the people that are spending money post-purchase on their properties, right? So the average renovation value that people spend on established houses after purchasing is $65,506. I've got that in front of me, right? But
that's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a reasonable.
What's the average price of the properties? I don't know if you have that.
A purchase price? It was about here we are, 539 for units, and for houses, I normally memorize all of this stuff. Houses was houses don't have. I'm guessing that was it was about 580 from memory is the average.
I guess
purchase
that's
price.
kind of, renovation wise, they try and say stick within 10% of the purchase price. So 60 grand isn't outlandish, but do you think that?
So hello. What I think is important is that I track the renovation spend for people that occupy the property as their principal place of residence, as distinct from the people that just only ever rent it out. Because what people don't realize is that a huge proportion of people live in their property, their investment property, prior to renting it out. Our figures have tracked it anywhere between 22 and 25%. It's sitting at the higher end of the range, right? Because people may buy an investment property as a first homeowner, so they live in it. Or people buy a property, and they live in it to begin with, and then they upgrade, and they realize that they don't have to sell that property. They could keep it as an investment. So when people buy just as an investment, they live and they never live in it. They don't spend anywhere near as much as people living in the property. It's almost double that they would spend if they occupy the property. So that sort of shows that there's much more of an appetite to improve the value of the property, and that kind of reaches a critical mass in a suburb where everyone's trying to lift their properties higher and higher and make the area more more in demand and attractive. Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's actually very. I think that's pretty a lot more sort of crucial than what a lot of people may realise, because you sort of say, well, what is it that actually drives property prices? And at a very simple level, supply and demand, right? But if you wanted to sort of dig a couple of, if you want to peel the onion layers back a few, you sort of say, well, it's actually an area where people want to live, which I suppose ties into demand. But yeah, then you sort of say, okay, great. Well, if an area is sort of run down and it's full of investors, then the people who aren't maintaining their properties, and owner occupiers probably aren't going to want to live there. And subsequently, I mean, I don't know if there's correlation equals causation, but you're likely going to impact your capital growth of that particular property in that area, and that's a generalization, of course. So not always going to be the way.
Yeah, I'd much rather sell my property to an owner-occupier than an investor, right? Because I want someone to go, this place is beautiful, this area is fantastic, I'm emotionally invested, it's got the good school areas, it's got the proximity to all the things that I covet, you know.
Do I get the bananas as well, Mike, if I buy the house?
Sorry?
Do I get the property bananas?
Mate, I'll throw them in for you. We'll cut you a deal.
Not that you're selling gas.
Off market.
Okay. slice you in. How do you find that owner occupier versus renter proportion in an area? How do you know?
Well, you can look at realestate.com and domains. They normally publish that sort of data.
Even ABS, but that's a bit outdated.
Yeah, ABS. Yeah. We've got a census coming up very, very soon, but it only stays current for a little while. But I think you had Kent on the show, Kent Lardner. He's if the data exists, he's got it right. He's got a correlation between migratory albatross and property prices. I'm sure he's that sort of bloke.
Yeah, we had the other property nerd on. We had Arjun. We're yet to get Kent on, but we definitely need him on in the coming weeks. I'm sure we'll get old mate Kent on and find out about those bloody albatross, because I know they control a lot more than you think. They're kind of like the stork. They're secretive.
Yeah, it makes me wonder, aren't all albatross migratory? Anyway, that's a side issue.
Probably, but yeah.
I love it.
So, do you have? I think you had. I'm looking at your list. You got a whole heap more questions. Like pick one from the box.
Oh, mate, I guess one of the ones I wanted to talk about was you have an awesome podcast geared for growth, sensational. You get all these experts on, not necessarily saying that you what you've gotten the experts, but who do you look up to in the property space? Besides obviously Oz Property Joe Jeff combination. Who are your who influences your property decisions and ideas and thoughts?
Double J, yeah, without a doubt. The big dogs. That's a good question. Like there's certain people that I love to read. Probably the OG, the first sort of crush that I had on a property guru would have been Pete Wargent. He was episode 1 on my podcast. I met him in person and he literally presented to me as Christ. He had cargo shorts and sandals and long hair, and I thought I think he was even backlit, which made it all the more terrifying. So he's
quite tall as well. He's taller than me, so yeah. We have to get Pete on, but Pete's a bit of an origin of my journey as well. He's sort of just reading some of his books, as he's he's just and he loves cricket as well. He's played cricket with Alistair Cook. I mean, Sir Alistair Cook. Could you get any more godly than Pete? I mean, people would love to have a beer with Pete, but he doesn't drink these days. So.
Well, I bet you he did with Alistair Cook back in the day. That was for sure.
I wonder if we get Alistair Cook on the show. Yeah, anyway, so
maybe he's still got connections. I don't know, but no. Pete is a good one, and there's a few people that, like, I guess, don't necessarily have huge big profiles that I follow on LinkedIn that share good data. But a lot of the people that I've done podcasts with, I've sort of become friends with, and have data nerdery in common. So I gravitate towards the data people. Like Kent, who's become a good friend as well. Melinda Jennison in Brisbane and Kate Bakos in Melbourne. They're people that I love to sort of uncover bits and bobs and say, what does this mean? Because that's another thing with the data. Like, I'm looking at investor trends, and I don't actually know why. I send it to cleverer people that are on the ground, transacting for people that want these things, and say, like, what's going on? So definitely they're a few of the people that I really look up to, and Simon Presley's another one as well. He would have migratory albatross in his algorithms as well.
We're still trying to get a connection. Still trying to, if Simon, if you're listening, drop us a link. We'd love to have you on the show. I'll probably just send him an email. So
I had a Shiraz with him a couple of weeks ago, and it was his shout actually, so it tasted even better. And we had a good old chat. He's got a very, very sort of rare property brain, and he's definitely someone that not only that I read, but the RBA read as well. So once you get them sort of trolling around your blog, you've hit the big time.
Oh, geez. So let's. I wanted. There was one question I think is going to be quite interesting to the audience, and there's heaps of people watching. So don't. We're having a party here, and there's heaps of people watching, but nobody's talking to us. So we love the comments, of course. So what I want to know is. You said you had some interesting insights on the distance people live from where they invest, and we can kind of. Oh, there you go. Yeah, I thought you would have been a data guy. You don't have it in a spreadsheet, or you printed it off?
No, I definitely would if I was in the office. I decided to come home because bananas. So I printed it out because my laptop screen's too small and I'm getting old.
Tell us about that. Like, what is it the average distance, or what was the question?
Average distance. So, Jeff, you own an investment property.
I do.
How far is it going to be from your house? And if you look at every Jeff and every Joe and every property investor in Australia, how many kilometres on average is it going to be from where they live, excluding overseas people, because they ruined my sample?
Can I both guess and see who gets the question?
Yeah, go on, go.
Okay. You go first, Joe.
Oh, mate, I'm going to say I'm going to say 60 kilometers. Like my first purchase was Brisbane and then Victoria. So like very far, and then New South Wales, like they're far, except New South Wales is where I'm at. So I've gone the reverse, but I saw people which just blow my mind. They're like, and I get it, right? Hey, I want to buy New South Wales. Why do you want to buy New South? I live here. Okay, great. Well, what about Victoria? There's some great investments over there that fit more within your budget. Like you have a better opportunity to get a better investment over there. And they're like, no, it's too far afield. I'm like, but you're talking about buying 100 kilometers into New South Wales. Like you're not going to drive around to check that place out. Just buy in Victoria because it's a better investment. Take the emotion out of it. You don't need to go. You would be more upset if you saw what happened at your properties, I imagine, than not.
And not that we're necessarily recommending Victoria, because I don't own a property there, so it's not.
I do, so I'm pumping the crap out of it.
What's suburb? I heard it's the real up and comer, Joe.
the data is unreal.
Everyone's leaving. Like, don't last person turn the lights out. No, I shouldn't joke about that.
Okay, so I've got, what did I say? 63. What have you got there?
You said 60, Joe. You said 60. You did not.
Well,
say
I'm going
63.
with 63. We've changed it.
Okay, Jesus. Sorry, shouldn't blaspheme on this show. So I'm going to go 64 because just to be a real pain in the backside. Because
is that what you think? Do you think it would be that low? Or
no, I don't. But I want to win. That's why I wanted you to go first.
You've done a Price is Right move. That is sneaky.
Well, yeah, and I used to listen to this podcast, Stacking Benjamins. It's an American podcast, but they used to do this guessing game, and I was like, but going last is definitely an advantage. But so I mean, okay, I won't do that. Sorry, I'll live a little dangerously. I think it's probably about 300 and 372.
That's far.
And we should ask the audience because they're very shy. Although I've got some nice comments about my finger work. Let's we'll go into another question. We'll give it a couple. What does the audience think? Throw us a number. The distance, the average distance that investors are buying from their homes, or what is the number of your property people? Because we've got 30 plus people watching. So surely somebody can come on.
Jump up.
Crystal.
They wanted 500Ks.
I tell you what, let's get a couple more. One of the data points that I want to look at, and I don't know, is the price where a Bunnings is. Wherever there is a Bunnings, I just know that the prices have gone up. Like, I feel like if you could just invest, like, don't stop all this nonsense, stop doing charts and all that. Just buy near a Bunnings and you'll be good to go. In the Bunnings suburb.
Or in a Macca's, Joe. So you're missing Macca's. So if you don't have
Bunnings or a Macca's.
Let me, if I may, and thank you, Facebook user, I can see in your comments, although not who you are, 25Ks. Thanks for playing. Let me tell you why I did this. If that's all right. I don't mean to hijack your show.
No, it's your show.
There's a very pervasive notion that people buy around the corner from where they live. Now,
you've set this up. You're setting it up, and I don't think 63 is a good choice anymore.
I'm not giving away. Or maybe the comments will start. I'll manipulate the market. This is insider trading. There's a lot of people that buy. There's a lot of people that will buy close to where they live because they want to drive by, but they often will say, well, I know the area. And then you say, okay, well, who are the top employers and what's the vacancy rate and what's the capital growth been like over the 10 years? And they go, I don't know that. I'm like, well, what do you mean you know the area? Like, well, I know that, like, the kids down at the end of that street throw rocks, the coffee's shit at this place. Don't try and go to that place after 8 o'clock because they won't open the kitchen. It's not necessarily things that drive property prices, right? And I wanted to know, is that true? Are people buying around the corner, or has the internet and the availability of buyers agents that kind of hotspot across the country, spread people's wings a little bit further? To give you, you tell me when you want the actual figure, but to give you an idea, this is the sample size of 994 properties, because 6 of them were actually people that bought property overseas, and we did them. That's a long story.
Wow.
1,000 is statistically significant. So everything I do is in 1,000 lots, right? So it's 994 properties. And I found that 10.8% of people buy within 2 kilometers of where they live. So,
wow.
So this I think is interesting, because depending on how you want to run this media article, you could say, people like to buy within 2 Ks of where they live or around the corner, and that's, 10% of people. But 29.5% of people buy further than 200 Ks from where they live.
Ooh,
so
okay.
It kind of fits both.
There you go. So what about the rest?
The majority, so 60.1% of people buy less than 50 Ks.
Oh, no. Okay.
How much? 50%?
60 point something.
60.1. Yeah, so the majority of people buy within 50 Ks. And around about, 70 people buy less than 200. So another way of putting this is that 70% of people, or the vast majority of people, buy within a distance that you could feasibly go and physically inspect it, right? 200 Ks. If you were buying a property 200 Ks away, you'd probably go and look at it, right? Or you can go and drive there, or you can stay overnight and do a reno. So I think there is still some familiarity, but the average distance was 293.47 kilometers.
I think that's me though. I think I'm closer.
Jeff, you've got that. Crystal was probably closer than Joe, but we're going to have to give that one to you, Jeff.
Yeah. Okay. That's yeah. I mean, the interesting thing about that is that I'd like to say is I think the reason I don't think I'd like to buy an investment like right around the corner from me, because I would be too tempted to manage it myself, and I just don't think I could. So I think there's so many opportunities out there in the market to not have to do that. So I just think I want to remove myself. Like Jeff can't help himself. He wants to go and knock on the door. He wants to go and see if they're partying on a Saturday night. If they're partying Saturday night, invite me. I want to party too. Let's party together, and we'll
Let's trash this joint. Oh wait,
yeah. Yeah. We'll sort of punch holes in the wall, and then I'll figure it. Yeah, but no. So.
That's interesting. Okay. Well, yeah, that kind of that blew my mind. Well, it didn't blow my mind. Sorry.
I'm glad you are still in possession of your mind, Joe.
Do you have statistics on the areas that people bought these properties, like just even LGAs? Like what are the kind of areas that people, or is that kind of too much down the?
No, of course he's got that. That's the secret sauce.
The answer is no and yes. I don't have it in the series of things I printed out because I've got my laptop here. But yeah, I mean, of course, when we're doing a tax depreciation schedule, we need to know who the property manager is, who the accountant is, what you spent on it, how long you've lived in it, what improvements you've done. We definitely need to know where it is because we've got to inspect the ruddy thing. But I haven't done that because I don't think that the data is statistically robust enough, because it depends on our business, right? So all I can do is who come through our doors. So the percentage of people buying new at 49.5%, well, that's what we're seeing. And a lot of people think new property is good for depreciation and old isn't. So there's probably a lot of people buying old property that we never see because they either think it's not worthwhile or they know that it's not worthwhile. So that kind of skews the data. We are predominantly an Eastern Seaboard sort of focused quantity surveyor, so it's not really sort of robust enough to say like these are the most important areas. Certainly there would be some value in it, but I haven't done that at this point just for that reason.
Is there like a union, not a union, like a organization that collects all this stuff that you guys all just report to, and then they've got all the overseeing?
Wouldn't that be good? Yeah,
wouldn't that be good?
No, all we've got is core logic, and from time to time they do publish things like that and interesting things, but that's another episode.
We should try and get a lot. I think Eliza owns at CoreLogic. Is she at CoreLogic, Mike, or do you know Eliza?
Yeah, she's. I don't know her. I'm definitely a fan. She's the economics head there. Tim Lawless, I think, is in the mix as well, and Cameron Sutherland is the economist, but he's gone to REA or something like that.
Yeah. Because I remember anyway, like we could geek out on people in property, and I've sort of connected with all these people on LinkedIn and sort of seen them speak, and it's just interesting to sort of see Eliza's particular. I might reach out to her actually. Anyway, that's so Joe. Before I ask one of the questions, and we get into the audience questions, I appreciate we're getting on an hour 20 now, and Mike's at home because he's got to go and console his bananas, and maybe they're going to go. They'll go brown if we leave them too long. So he's going to go and eat one or two bananas maybe. So, Joe, do you have any questions before I ask a question?
No, mate, you go wild. Go wild.
Okay. The one thing I love to ask people and just see what they say is what is one piece of wisdom based on all the appreciation you've done or just all the property investors you've seen? What's one piece of wisdom you want to pass on to people watching now and into the future?
That's a good one. I think the best interviews that I've done, and I always ask this question, if there's one piece of advice you'd give, what would that be? the best answers are always boring. Like, they're terrible. Like, people don't want to hear, like, oh, if you want to lose weight, you have to, exercise and eat your veggies. They want to go, oh, well, like Miranda Kerr did this thing where she, inserted a hamster in her ear, and she just did that and ate only camembert, and she lost, 80 pounds.
Did she actually do that? No, she didn't.
No.
Okay. It sounds quite fun, though.
No, I don't know where you get a hamster. Camembert, I don't think is good for weight loss either. But
Sorry.
The point is like everyone wants the shortcuts. So I think, like, if it sounds boring, chances are it's a good idea. Now, that's a typical thing for someone like me to say, I guess. But I think the best advice is to just be patient, buy sort of slowly and carefully, and consider it on its merits. There's no race. You're much better sort of making a considered decision, with the help of some experts than trying to run around finding the next booming mining town or something like that.
But you're a triathlete, Mike. I mean, surely you must enjoy the thrill of a race.
No, I do.
It's a long race, though, isn't it?
But many of the races, go for 4 or 5 or 10 hours. So you cannot go full gas from the off.
Yeah, but also keep your, get your kicks other places, right? Do it in your triathlon. Don't do it in your investing, right? Like, that's a key point there, is if you want to gamble, hit the casino. Don't hit the property lottery and try and win big, because you need education. You need a buy, as some people say.
That's got to be Luke Moroni. I can only see Facebook user. I said loser. Run 7Ks. I've actually done that, I think, twice with Moroni. We've done a 7K run. I had him covered. It's giving him a bit of hate mail, see if he chimes in on that. But no, you're right. Patience in property. That's it.
That's your words, actually.
Yeah. I think I kind of want somebody to ask me that question. So, but
go on then. Okay, answer
it,
Jeff.
It depends on what day So I think for me, it's I gotta anyway, and then we'll get on to the audience questions.
No, say give us a run through, mate.
The thing that I sort of learned from my journey is I wouldn't change anything. So what I mean by that is I didn't really go hard in investing in my 20s, which a lot of people say, oh, you have to buy early and all that kind of stuff. I would say, like, just it's kind of taking time, but I would say go out and see the world and go and enjoy smell the roses before you actually, that's not to say not buy a property, but before you sort of start to, and look, this is potentially terrible advice for some people, but I think for me, if I hadn't gone on that journey myself, I don't think I would be the property investor I would be today. So I suppose what I'm getting at, if you want to go and buy a property at 18 or 20, if that's your journey, that's fine. But my journey was that I didn't buy my first till 25, and I was able to enjoy my life as well. Probably a little bit of my.
And Moroni's a proponent of that. I mean, he's done the both. He's built a portfolio. He's had some fun. He's got up to all sorts of mischief. I think it's so easy to compare people that, like, I'm 24 and I just bought my 800th property, and you're like, oh gosh, like, I'm a failure. Like, I'm getting old. I'm shaving out the greys, and I'm nowhere near it. But you only get one go at life, unless you're a Buddhist or something, in which case you come back as an albatross, I guess. Is what's heading for me. But yeah, you've got to enjoy yourself and balance it.
Yeah, that's wise. Too wise for me, Mike. And you're only one or two couple of years older than me, so I feel I need to learn a thing or two. I need to listen to more geared for growth. So let's get into some of these questions from the audience, because there was about 500 from the audience. Maybe not that many, but it was more than 5.
Luke.
More than 5 and less than 500. So for Braden, he said, other than build new, what opportunities are there to claim depreciation? So I think you covered up a little bit. So do you want to kind of recap? I'll tag Braden now.
Yeah. Tag Braden. So what are the other opportunities? Well, it comes down to the 3 triggers. You don't have to buy or build new. You do if you want to claim the plant and equipment items, and that shouldn't be discounted, because obviously there was some legislation changes that meant you can only claim plant and equipment if you either install it or you purchase new. But if it's built after 87, then you're going to get the original structure and renovated property. So if it's built in the 60s, but it's had a new kitchen, bathroom, you think about it this way. If you own an investment property built in the 60s, it's very unlikely to be in original condition because it's bad for the tenants. They're going to think, oh, this Mission Brown benchtop is probably not what I wished for in life. It's bad for your reval if you get a valuer in and they go condition of, kitchen, disgusting. So most properties that are built, pre-1987 have had work done. So there's plenty of opportunities to claim depreciation. And, of course, if you're making improvements to the property yourself, and that's another one.
I've got a question actually about depreciation. Perfect moment for it, really. What happens with claiming a renovation before you have your tenant in or after you have your tenant in? How is there a rule around that?
Yeah, you've got to be really careful with it, because if you're doing a renovation, it's going to be a mixture of building structure components and then plant and equipment components. Now, the plant and equipment is things like carpets, blinds, kitchen appliances. By the time that the property gets rented out, you want to make sure that those are new assets. You haven't turned them into previously used by occupying it. So ideally, you want to be doing a renovation for a tenant or, during a gap in the tenancy. So you're not killing off those plant and equipment items. If you, say, bought an investment property, lived in it for a year, renovated it, and then, moved out and then gave it to a tenant, you may be cutting in half your deductions in the first couple of years by losing those plant and equipment items.
Right. So if you buy a property, should you renovate it or should you get a tenant in and then renovate it after that?
Look, I think it all depends on what. This is an annoying question. It depends, what you're able to do and what your strategy is. No, sorry, it's an annoying answer. Because I like to say, yes or no.
Black or white.
I agree. It's an annoying question.
No, it's an annoying answer, but it depends on what you can do. But yeah, if you're buying a property, often it is easier to renovate it. But you just want to have a bit of a strategy as to how you're doing that. But the most important thing to do is to not sort of occupy the property if you've made those installation of plant and equipment items, because you will get rid of them.
As a PPOR.
Yes. Yep.
That's very interesting.
I think that's a great answer for Braden, and I'm sure he'll watch this and he'll comment. We'll get Braden on. So Luke the meme Maroney has asked us. Luke 7K Maroney has asked us, are they going to change the rules? I think I could answer this one, but I want to see Mike sweat and answer this one.
I'm going to say yes. They're going to always change the rules. What rules do?
Yeah. They're going to change the rules all the time, as Saul Eslake says, tinkering around the edges. Are they going to change the depreciation rules? I hope they do. I hope they revert the changes that they made on the 9th of May 2017. I hope they increase the calculation for the diminishing value method. I hope they provide more incentive for landlords, because landlords have been demonized for the last 4 years. And now we just happen to be in a rental affordability crisis off the back of 20-year lows in investor activity. So investors are not the devil. They're not bad people. Most of them are, working class people that only own one investment property. But there's been a lot of talk about, the evil of negative gearing and the wealthy land barons. So I hope they change the rules in a positive way. Will they change depreciation rules? They technically do every July when they release new effective lives and that sort of stuff, but I can't see much in the mix. The next sort of big property rule, I think, is going to be around, state stamp duties and things like APRA serviceability floors and that sort of stuff.
Seeing the winds are blowing that way. Especially given there. So we've got we'll try and race, because we're over. So Terry, we didn't really cover this, and I think it's an interesting one. There is a bit of a difference in the way resi and commercial are treated. Can you give us a quick spiel on what the differences are between resi and commercial?
Yeah, there's different cutoff dates for the original building structure for commercial, and it depends on the type of commercial. So there's a difference between, say, a traveller accommodation and there is, standard commercial property. Normally it's July 1982. There's way more plant and equipment items than there are for residential. So you've got even things like, lion cages and stuffed crocodiles used to be plant and equipment items. So, there's beekeeping assets as their own category. So that's a big difference with commercial. And there's different types of assets. Like you don't tend to have, say, a bottling line in your kitchen unless you're a very serious alcoholic. And the other thing is that the plant and equipment changes that happened on the 9th of May 2017, they don't apply to commercial. So you can buy a second-hand commercial property and still claim the plant and equipment item. So those are probably the fundamental differences.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense. So there's a good book that I believe, I don't know how deep it goes into depreciation, I remember, but good old, Polizzi, Oz Property, Oz Prop, get in there, 50% discount.
Jesus. Shameless. Shameless.
It's a good book. I've actually read it. So
I haven't read it. I hope he talks about depreciation, but he is a very clever guy. I'll give him a plug too. Look at this. The check's better be in the mail. No, I'm happy to plug him because he got like a 98 or a 99 entrance ranking. Yeah, something crazy. Like, he speaks in maths. And he's a rare person that's clever and can communicate. So I've only just come across Steve. We had a good chat the other day, and
I'm looking at one right now as well, Mike. So we're in rare company.
All right.
So I think I'll let you answer Paul's question to a comment to him rather than, because that's a massive rabbit hole. I don't know. It depends on how much time you want to go. But I think a really interesting one that's going to be useful for people, given that there may be some people in this situation, and so this is not specific advice. Speak to your quantity surveyor, hopefully Mike. But so Cone Valest wants to know how to calculate when you start building but already have the lands, as in what to look out for already included, and what's is that a complicated question?
Complicated to understand how to best answer it. I mean, if you're talking about from a depreciation point of view, you need really your occupancy certificate to be able to start claiming the deductions. And, pardon me, the idea that it's available for rent doesn't have to be rented from day one, but you want to be signing a management agreement or something like that. If you're talking sort of general estimating, that's another side issue. And feel free to ping me a message more specifically if you're looking about, traditional quantity surveying advice. Happy to help out.
Yeah, great. Well, before we sort of start to wind up, we've probably got time for one question. I know we've gone an hour and a half. I really appreciate your time.
Nice.
We'll throw to Moroni, and he said, "What is next with property?" I wonder what he means. Some of the questions he comes out with, I don't know where to go with them. Like, I don't know, what is next with property? Like, how do we go with that one?
His questions have almost paralyzed my business partner in a drinking session once before. He says all sorts of things like, "Are you present?" Or are you, are you breathing? I bloody hope so. Very esoteric, that Moroni bloke. What's next with the property market is very crystal ball, but like what I'm certainly seeing is that we're talking about this housing affordability crisis.
I posted about it today, actually, in the news. Check it out, people. Like, we haven't got for me to keep posting these articles and spending my hour reading the news, which Joe said that I shouldn't do, but So tell us about it. It is. I'm starting to see more of that housing affordability, aren't we, Mike?
Yeah. So like I've learned enough about property journalism to know that most of it shouldn't be read. It certainly shouldn't inform your investing. You should do your own research. But, when people start talking about the housing affordability crisis, then that can really that can really sort of cause a lot of debate. So like right now, people have started talking about negative gearing and, abolishing that again, even though it's sort of lost 2 elections and it's a bad policy. But people need to understand that this cycle has not been driven by investors. Now, investors have just come back into the market after 20-year lows, and you can look at, investor loan activity to sort of ratify that. But this cycle has not been driven by speculation. It's been owner-occupiers. It's been first home buyers. First home buyers have had a great run on property in the last little while, and they've had some great, some incentives. And I think that, the first home buyers will drop off because a lot of them have transacted. But what we've seen and what I think this property boom has been driven by is that when COVID happened, we saw a huge increase in the household savings ratio as we all battened down the hatches and we kind of thought, I need a war chest because I don't know what's going to happen. Then we kind of went on the other side of it and we're like, okay, well, like things aren't as bad as they thought. Yes, people lost their jobs and lives. There has been some terrible things, but it could have been much, much worse. And then there's a lot of sort of money that we couldn't spend going out to restaurants. You can't do your annual trip to Aspen, which is where I assume Moroni goes with all of his money. So we've got all of this kind of money lying around. We can't do the travel and that sort of stuff. So we saw renovations going crazy, and we've seen a lot of people purchase property. They've upgraded, but we haven't seen the listings there. So we've got a real lack of supply. I think the listings will come eventually. I think the spring listing season will happen. Say again?
I think they are coming. I mean, auctions is not necessarily the complete picture, because you've got people probably selling more at auction because they feel that'll maximise their price because of a competition. But I sort of read that yes, listings in certain parts are increasing. But is that going to mean that we're going to see sort of levelling out? Maybe, maybe not. Who knows?
I think we'll have to. I think if we don't, we'll end up seeing some government regulation because they're of course worried about that. One of the best things to track is the CMA activity. So people like CoreLogic do these comparative market analysis. So if you're going to list a property, you will go onto their online platform and look at the comparable sales. So they're seeing a big increase in that activity. So that is a leading indicator of listings. So I think the market's still got a bit of a way to go. I think investors are coming back because they're seeing, great yields and rents increasing because there's a glut of investors at the moment. When we talk about housing affordability, rental affordability needs to come into the equation, and renters are suffering. It's a bad place, and not everyone is going to be a first home buyer. It's just not the reality. So yeah, I mean, there's my kind of like smearing of fecal matter on the bathroom wall of property prediction.
Wow.
But that's it's like the media cycle that you see all the time, isn't it? It's like boom, and then when they get sick of boom, it's housing affordability. And then another big one, I bet for the next 6 months, we're going to see all about inflation. Inflation. That's going to be the big one. Actually, one point that I wanted to ask a quantity surveyor was, how does inflation look? How is real world inflation looking on building supplies and those type of things? Like, are you seeing a big increase in prices when it comes to building products and services?
Yeah, and of course, Australia's a ruddy big place, so it depends, where you're talking about. But we've definitely seen some big supply chain problems, and we've seen labour shortages in specific areas. So, for example, my old man used to tell me growing up, get a trade, son, you'll always be all right. And I'm like, oh, don't worry, Dad, I'm going to go to uni. Now I'm kind of thinking, gosh, why do I waste all my time on uni and HECS debt? I should be a tradie. It's a great time to be a tradie. There's plenty of work. I spoke to one of the head honchos at Metricon, and they can't get roofs for their houses. And you'd be surprised how critical a roof is for a new home. The buyers are real sticklers for that.
Moving about it, yeah. It's easy.
Yeah, and that's especially in Queensland where they've, had cyclones and there's just so much insurance activity. So, certain bits of materials, trade shortages, we have seen some increases in construction costs for sure.
definitely.
But that's not scaring you in terms of inflation too crazy.
No. I mean, inflation's an interesting one. I mean, there is kind of there's a study that came out recently that sort of put Australia in, the wealthiest position comparatively. I think in number one position. We've tended to make a lot of money in this COVID situation. Businesses have been booming. We had a very sort of slight downturn, and then I've spoken to a lot of people who have just had the best year that they've ever had. So I think it's something that's on the way. Unemployment didn't go anywhere near what was predicted, so it'll be an interesting thing to watch.
Yeah, I do keep an eye. I listen to a lot of podcasts that sort of talk about it, but I don't know. I think a lot of people are sort of it's a best guess rather than we're sort of in, I hate the word, unprecedented times. Nobody kind of has no idea what low and negative interest rates are doing, and this injection of money, because we're part of the biggest experiment, or one of the biggest experiments.
Yeah, there we go. So let's start talking Bitcoin now. No, let's not. Okay, cool. Well, I think we've covered off a whole diverse region of quantity surveying, depreciation, tax, property. We've covered it all, Mike. You're a bloody absolute gem. Thank you for coming on. For people that want to learn a little bit more, how can they get in touch with you? What's the best way?
Yeah, look, I think you can probably find me in this thread, so feel free to ping me a message on Facebook. Otherwise, you can go to the website, which is just MCGQS. So it's the cricket ground, then quantitysurveyors.com.au.
And do you do consultations to tell people if, like, you don't charge them straight away? It's more of like, oh, hey, let's have a bit of a chat first.
Yeah. So if someone's got a property they want to have a look at it, I mean, you can fill out forms on our website for a free estimate. But in any way, you can jump on the live chat, you can send an email, you can call. We even accept smoke signals, messenger pigeons, wandering albatross. We'll have a look at it and see if there's value in it for you.
This is why you're so interested in the albatross.
It's been a real theme. Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah.
The question, are you going to ask the question, Joe? The question we ask everybody? It's not that.
Dear. Do I ask it? I don't think I ask it.
Yeah, it's the question. The question is, it's kind of like it's like a matrix kind of question. What is the question? Is there any question we wish that we'd asked you?
Oh, that you wish that you've asked me.
Yeah. It's not a final. That shouldn't be the final question that we ask people.
But it usually is, though, Jackson.
I wish you'd ask. Do you need a minute to go and open that bottle of red? Because I can see you're empty. I mean, I really resent you not asking that one, Jeff.
It was a bit rude of us.
I see what you're getting there, because some people like get to the end and they're like, oh, that's it. You didn't ask me that special thing that I do, and that's fine. But no, I think like if there's anything that I can share, it's those three triggers and making sure you get a depreciation schedule if there's value for you. And I actually go so far as to say, I don't care if it's me, like use anybody. If not anybody, but use a good reputable firm rather than not do it at all, because we've got stats, believe it or not, that the average investor that misses out on deductions is missing 20,537, and if you extrapolate that across every property investor, it's $2.88 billion worth of deductions that are just out there floating in the ether. And I don't think you should be tipping the government because they buy weird stuff, submarines, and do we need a submarine?
I'm not the Japanese. We don't need a submarine.
Okay. On that note.
Yeah, on that note, Jeff, do you have anything? I feel you look like you're going to ask a question, so I'm like, oh, go on, Jeff.
No, I'm dropping Mike's report down in the chat, so that's what I'm his 1,000 properties report or 1,000
assets report. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry to Adelaide. Yes, you got to build the submarines. That's a very important thing. What I like, I'm not picking on submarines or defense capabilities or the local manufacturing environment of Adelaide. I'm just kind of saying, if you've got spare money, rather than giving it to the government, then go and give it to your favourite charity. So yeah. I love Adelaide. You've got probably the best wine region in Australia, which is Hunter Valley is very close.
That's a big call.
Love the Barossa.
Yeah, fair enough.
What is it? Make sure you pay tax, but don't tip.
That's right.
See your accountant.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's been a pleasure. I hope that people have stayed awake and got something out of it.
The audience is it's continued to grow. So it's just who's watching it after an hour and a half or an hour 45? Luke's drumming up. Thanks for all the comments, Luke. I couldn't keep up with it all. It's too much.
Yeah.
But thanks
for everyone. Thanks for everyone that showed up, Mike. Appreciate you putting all the effort in tonight.
Yeah.
So let's go buy a property, guys. See you later.
Cheers.